Hello, and welcome on into the Swear Word. I'm your host, Brandon Swear, and hey, this is a podcast for the chilihead community, by the chilihead community. Regardless of your spice tolerance, this is the place for you. Man, we have an amazing episode here tonight. 3 sauces on deck for Hot or Not. We have an amazing Canadian sauce maker locked and loaded as our guest tonight, as well as a very fun game. So episode number 95 starts now. Welcome on in, Swear Nation. So glad to have everyone here, whether you're tuning in on YouTube, Spotify, Rumble, Apple Podcast. Thank you so much for being here and making the show what it is. Continue to share this out with other like-minded chili heads or individuals that are curious about the world of hot, because this is where they can find everything to do with the world of hot. Up tonight, we have 3 amazing sauces and our guest tonight, Jeff Davis from Island Sun, Canada, here as our guest tonight. As Jeff continues to play a game of Keep 5, Cut 5, remember you can sound off down below in the comments and let us know if you would have changed any of the answers that Jeff had. But let's do this. Let's go ahead and kick it on over to Hot or Not. Welcome on into Hot or Not. We have 3 sauces on deck tonight to check out. So if this is your first time checking out Hot or Not, thanks so much for being here. I do things a little bit different than most reviewers. I do not do a 1 out of 10 scale. I do a 1 out of 5. And that's based off of 5 different categories. And those categories are heat, aroma, flavor, versatility, and burn. I add those all up, average them out, and that gives us our total swear word rating. And I also do not like to read the ingredients ahead of time. I like to let my taste buds do the exploration and really define what I'm picking out as far as flavor is concerned. So let's do this. Let's go ahead and take a look at these sauces. So as you can see here, we have Envy, we have Hot Sub, and then we have Hollowed. So looking forward to diving into all of these. Love the jars that are going on here. Really the imagery that all of these paint, they're all very eye-grabbing. They all seem to have their own identity, but definitely some similarities going on there. So you can tell they are all uniform, but, have their own personality and profile. So I like what's going on there. Let's do this. I'm going to start out with Envy. So we're going to try the green sauce first. So give this a good shake. Once again, this is Island Sun, Canada, and we are going to open up Envy first. Nice lid, very well sealed. And I'm going to just go in and get a big old heaping tablespoon of Envy. Wow. Very fresh, very aromatic on the nose. Picking up a little bit of that fresh, kind of earthy, nice little citrus, maybe some onion, or maybe that's garlic. It's hard to tell, but absolutely loving this. Cheers. Wow. Holy moly. That is good. That is so good. Flavor bomb, cascade, right on the mouth. Right off the bat, picking up the great, bright, citrusy, fresh notes that are just exploding on the taste buds. Tastes like maybe some tomatillos. Definitely picking up some pepper notes. Picking up some citrus notes as well. Maybe that's onion, maybe that's garlic. Hard to fully tell. Absolutely loving this one here. This is going to be phenomenal on just about anything. The only thing I wouldn't really use this on is going to be desserts. But go-tos for sure for breakfast, for Mexican food, for sandwiches, for burgers, for pizza. I mean, that's also going to pair very well using it mixed in to make your own salad dressing at home. That bright note is going to be beautiful for summer to really just awaken the salad as a whole. Man, phenomenal stuff there. as the differentiating from the heat to the burn. So heat on this one, right off the bat, you're getting a little bit on the tongue, around the gums and the mouth as a whole, just a slight sizzle, nothing too crazy. It does start to build just a little bit and then quickly starts to fade out as far as the burn is concerned. Now, the flavor is just absolutely phenomenal. Carries through the whole time. Still left with this great overall taste. Definitely wanting you to dive back in is that feeling that you're getting while enjoying Envy. So, with that being said, I'm absolutely loving this one. Let's read off some ingredients here. Okay, so Envy from Island Sun, Canada. Ingredients are, here we go, tomatillos, distilled vinegar, jalapeno, onion, chili peppers, cilantro, lime juice, garlic, green onion, salt, spices, and sugar. Brown sugar to be specific. Absolutely phenomenal. And it's interesting, even with that brown sugar in there, it's done in such a way that you're not left with overpoweringly sweet or anything. It is almost as if it's just there to accentuate some of those other flavors. The cilantro, the tomatillo, the lime juice, all these just give that great, strong front forward pop of freshness throughout this. And you're getting that great garlic on the back. Absolutely loving this sauce here. Envy from Island Sun, Canada. Now, once again, this is a great sauce for you to just, if you're getting started, get started out with. You're going to fall in love with this sauce. You're going to love the way it goes. And you're going to be able to utilize it and feel comfortable with adding more and more. If you're constantly pushing your own personal best, this sauce right here is going to be a flavor bomb and a must-have to just enhancing your food that you have going on. But here we go. Island Sun, Canada, Envy heat coming in at 2.15, aroma of 3.91, flavor of 4.34, versatility of a 4, burn of a 2.15 for a total swear word rating of 3.31. There we go. An amazing sauce. That is Envy by Island Sun, Canada. Absolutely loving that one there. If once again, if you are looking for a phenomenal breakfast sauce, if you're wanting to just, get going, get started, absolutely phenomenal one there. If you're in Canada, you should definitely be grabbing some Island Sun Canada hot sauce. So let's do this. Let's grab hot sub next. So give that one a good shake. Love the overall imagery. Literally a submarine on fire. Got the Canadian leaf with the pitchfork in there. Loving it. Like the overall look on this. As you can see here, you get some specks of, looks like seasoning, some pepper bits going on, as well as just an overall nice kind of brownish, light orange, light yellowish hue. Makes me think there might be some mustard going on in this one. Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness. That aroma. That is phenomenal. So, right off the bat, the aroma, the second you take a good whiff of that, absolutely salivating already like crazy because I love cold cut sandwiches. And this already smells like a phenomenal sauce to incorporate with your cold cut sandwich. So let's go ahead and get a nice spoonful. Very creamy. Nice texture to this as well. As you can see there, very nice hold. It is absolutely phenomenal stuff. But let's go ahead and dive on in. Cheers. Wow. Wow. Creamy, savory, almost like, it sounds strange to say, but almost like a little bit of umami flavor. Absolutely loving this. This is going to be your best friend when it comes time for, making a sandwich at home. awakening a cold cut that you order from somewhere, just drop open that bread, slather this up. That is phenomenal. Absolutely amazing. So you get this great, nice, soft, kind, inviting, subtle note of, a little bit of spices, a little bit of a mustard taste, but then there's also kind of like a vinegary, just a very dressing type of feel and vibe going on here. There's a subtle garlic note that's going on that I'm picking up, and definitely a very subtle kiss of pepper. Not quite certain what pepper that is, but there is definitely something pepper-wise going on in there. The way that it's kind of hitting the tongue too makes me wonder if there isn't some kind of Szechuan going on in this, but overall, absolutely love this. This one, again, is going to be great for anyone that's just starting out. You're going to be able to pick this one up. You're going to be able to use this on your sandwiches, use this on with salads as well. That's going to go phenomenal with it, wraps, and you're going to have a phenomenal time with this. So just getting started so far. Envy Hot Sub, your best friend. Definitely, if you're in Canada, you need to be picking these up and checking them out. So let's go ahead and read off some ingredients here before I get too carried away. So here we go. Ingredients are olive oil, honey, onion, red wine vinegar, chili peppers, and then we have pure white vinegar, garlic, lemon juice, black pepper, mustard, sea salt, basil, thyme, parsley, oregano, xanthan gum. Great overall body. Great use of these ingredients, really making it pop. I am curious to know what peppers are in here. It just says chili pepper, but the note of the pepper is very much towards the finish that you're really picking up that as the key focal point. But even then, the flavors, the complexity, the smoothness, the body to this is just so phenomenal. Absolutely loving this. This is a absolute home run, and one that you should definitely get if you are, constantly eating hot, cold subs or hot subs. That's going to go great on that. And that is Hot Sub from Island Sun, Canada. As far as the, heat is really concerned, very, very mild, hits the tongue and really just kind of sits there about midway on the tongue, doesn't really amplify, doesn't move around. It's just a nice, steady, subtle burn on that sauce. So absolutely, if you're pushing your own, working on your own personal best, you're pushing yourself. This is going to be another one that's going to be flavorful and one that you're going to be able to awaken your food. Hot Sub from Island Sun, Canada. Heat coming in at 2.2. Aroma of 4. Flavor of 4.2. Versatility of a 4. Burn of a 2.2 for a total swear word rating of 3.32. There we go. Another solid sauce. That is from Island Sun, Canada. That is Hot Sub. Absolutely amazing stuff there. Loving both of these sauces. If you're in Canada, you need to be checking those out. But we have one more sauce to go. And this one here is hollowed. So love the labeling on this one. It also says that it is a collaboration sauce here. So with Purple Tongue Hot Sauce and Island Sun, Canada coming together to make this thing happen here. So hollowed, we'll be checking that one out. Nice, beautiful, very yellow mustardy look to the sauce itself. So let's see what this one's all about. Give it a good shake. And there we go. Beautiful sound of it just coming on open. But once again, going in for a full tablespoon. Oh, nice texture to this. I can immediately smell peanut, and it has a nice peanut butter kind of look to the sauce. So excited for this one. Cheers. Holy cow. That is phenomenal. You got to get all that off. That tastes so good. Absolutely amazing. Now, unlike the first two, this one you will definitely notice it packs quite a bit of heat right off the bat. First thing you're greeted with, though, is this amazing Asian inspired, like immediately pop in my head is just this Asian inspired cuisine. This is going to be absolutely just screaming out. Use me on this. Has a great peanut taste. There's a little bit of a savory umami note there. So maybe there's some kind of like soy sauce. It tastes like a little bit of tamarind, maybe. Absolutely phenomenal. You're getting that pepper note pretty much right away. And then it continues on throughout the flavor and profile of this sauce. I mean, this sauce right here is going to be absolutely dangerous. You could use this as well on, burgers. That's going to really sing there. Utilizing this on like an Asian inspired taco. Oh my goodness. Rice dishes, curries, you name it, any kind of like Asian dish, this is going to go phenomenal with as well. This as a salad dressing is going to be absolutely screaming. There for a while, there was that viral trend of doing the peanut sauce with the cucumbers. Use that instead of the peanut butter. And oh my gosh, that is going to be absolutely a home run. So, with that being said, if you're just starting out, moderation is key. If you're working on your own personal best, this is going to be a nice medium sauce for you. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Definitely one to check out. Let's go ahead and read off some ingredients here. Water, roasted peanuts, pure white vinegar, and then soy sauce, onion, lime juice, Thai red curry paste, sugar, garlic, chili pepper, salt, ginger, coconut milk, Szechuan peppercorns, lemongrass, concentrated cooking tamarind, turmeric, and xanthan gum. Absolutely beautiful list of ingredients here. Honestly, the coconut milk, while it's not something that is super prevalent in the overall taste, giving it that creamy nature, allowing all this to really bond together and play well, that is where that coconut milk is coming in. Love what is going on here. So let's go ahead and read off some scores here. This is hollowed from Island Sun, Canada, and we have heat coming in at 3.65, aroma of 4.3, flavor of 4.3, versatility of a 4, and a burn of 3.74 for a total swear word rating of 4.0. There we go. Absolutely amazing stuff right there. That is hollowed from Island Sun, Canada. And, if you're in Canada and you haven't had a chance to check these out, I highly recommend you grab yourself some and check them out. Out of the three, the one that stood out that could possibly lend itself well to playing with desserts would be hollowed. That spicy peanut sauce could really make, some nice pop in some desserts. Obviously, using it in a nice layered manner so that it just accentuates the food instead of masking the food would be the absolute key. So brownies, as well as I could see myself using that with some ice cream, and a few other things here and there, but those two are the ones that stand out the most, as well as, pairing that with a cookie, that would be phenomenal. But I will have the direct links down below for all three of these sauces. Currently, it is being offered in Canada only. But if you have questions and you are stateside, reach on out to Jeff. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the interview. Hey, Jeff, how's it going?
Hey, how are you doing, Brandon?
Man, I am doing good. Glad to have you here. I've heard nothing but amazing things from Drew about you, and looking forward to learning more about you, your amazing sauces, and how your wizardry, if you will, of crafting these ingredients together. So glad to have you here.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thank you, first of all, to Drew nominating me for this, and secondly to you, because like this is a really great opportunity to talk seriously about something that we both find really near and dear, and something we really care about. Drew, I know, is a huge champion of the same things that I feel are valuable. So this has been great, a good opportunity.
Well, one thing I always like to start off with is really gaining an understanding of what brought you into the world of hot and what was that catapulting moment that you were like, you know what, I'll make my own spicy products.
So my father happens to be Bajan or Barbadian, so he was born in Barbados. My family and ancestors are on my dad's side are from Barbados. When I was a small child, we lived in a little rural town that didn't really have anybody else that was even into hot food. So occasionally we would get like a small bottle of like Barbadian hot sauce, this yellow bottle with a little parrot on it. Um, and someone would bring it from Barbados, and my dad would douse it like on our spaghetti. Who knows? Like I remember, I think the earliest time that I sort of got to try it was about 7 years old, and it was in spaghetti, and I just remember thinking, "What is this?" And then just taking a pause, and then going back for more, and just going bananas. And my brother, who's was a little younger than me, he didn't go that direction, but I kept going. I was always the kid that if it was hot dog day at school, I would eat only mustard, like all over my hot dog. And kids would be like, "Would you eat a spoon of mustard?" And I'd say, "Yeah, give it to me," because I really enjoyed that. I enjoy vinegar. I enjoy tart flavors. I don't have a sweet tooth. I'm more of a, I call it a spice tooth. Like I just really enjoy spicy stuff. I don't think there's really many meals of the day that I don't eat hot sauce, and I've been maintaining that for probably 30 years at least. What's I kind of like that the moment that you're talking about that sort of catapulted me into creating sauce is was I think I have to admit it was when YouTube started picking up, and a show like Hot Ones, of course, watching funny stuff with Chili Klaus, um, and then it was kind of like I don't see what I didn't see was my Barbadian style hot sauce initially. So I sort of thought I can make this. So as a hobby, I had been making sauces, failing big time with some of the experiments I made because I just didn't have the know how. And then YouTube was a really valuable tool to go down that rabbit hole of what actually has to what you have to do to make it food safe and to store it correctly. The last thing I wanted was to make anyone sick. But sometimes it's funny. There's a fine line where you can hand somebody a hot pepper pod, they'll eat it, and they're hurt. So it's like there's a certain amount of pleasure in having people experience that sensation, but you don't want to be poisoning people with bad food. So for me, a few notable sauces kind of came up that I thought, wow, this is a quality, flavorful product that has a good amount of heat that's gonna keep you coming back. And I sort of wanted to model my business after that. I had no plans to go beyond. Initially, I had no plans to go beyond creating Beijing Taiga, which is my Barbadian style. It's like a it's like a mustard, mango mustard, hot sauce, heavy turmeric, which is very similar to what's made traditionally in Barbados. And I had no plans to go beyond that. I I ended up, making it for my father. He enjoyed it. I used him as a guinea pig extensively. I sent some to my family, and they all gave me the thumbs up. I asked a couple aunts, what they did when they made sauce. So I incorporated some of those ideas. But what everyone else wanted was something not as hot as what I wanted. And what's really funny now is that I would consider that sauce to be a medium at this point. So many hot sauce companies have come along and they've raised that bar of heat. So then the challenge sort of became, how do I get the flavors from those super hot peppers into sauces to kind of create the effects that I wanted from those peppers? Like, for instance, you're gonna probably try Hallows Eve pepper in a couple of my sauces, and for me, what was really cool about the Hallows Eve was that it had some characteristics of a ghost pepper, but at the same time, it sort of struck up front right across my tongue. And I thought, that's the kind of heat I want. I don't want it too much, too little, but that's the pepper I want to work with. And that's what I want to pair with XYZ. So that was a big moment for me. I've used the Hallows Eve now in a few things. I like to combine. I also, from what I from my small world up here in Ontario, there were very few makers doing anything of note. Um, I didn't know Drew at the time, but when I got to know Drew, it was like, oh, somebody else gives shit about this stuff. So it's really nice. There's a brotherhood there between some of us. And I'm just so grateful that there are guys like us up here too. But I mean, my early start was watching, Hot Ones, watching YouTube for that kind of content, trying to see what's available going into it. I mean, we all see the last dab, I guess. What's the other one?
The bomb is always
The
on there.
bomb.
Yeah.
The bomb. So, trying that. Dave's Insanity, I remember trying several of his. Um, there were only a few that were like really kind of making an impact up here in Canada, and that started growing and taking over. So um, I ended up I ended up being restructured out of a job in 2018, and I just thought to myself, I'm old enough that I want to do something, that I'm really proud of in future, and that sort of directed me toward hot sauce. And yeah, I've been making sauces. I thought I was really worried about just being a one hit wonder, and then I sort of started winning more awards with other flavors. Pairing things that weren't obvious to the average um, sauce maker or sauce fan. And for me, my focus has always been what can you pair food with versus just blasting somebody with hot sauce. So that's kind of, I guess that's kind of how it started. Um, but sorry, to answer your question, the moment that really catapulted me forward was I was at I was kind of at a place where I knew my job was going away, um, and thinking, what am I going to do? I had really started crafting what became Beijing Taiga at the time, and I apologize because I believe Beijing Taiga was the one that broke in the package I sent you. I really need you to taste that, so I'm
It,
gonna send that one. I'll send you that one, I promise, and you'll get to try it. I wish you had it as a reference because it's kind of OG, um, my OG sauce. I've sold over 30,000 bottles of it, and it kind of it took off at a weird time. Like so, back to my story. Sorry, I'm a keep me on pace if you need to.
no, you're
Um,
good.
okay, yeah, you're seeing the Beijing Tiger in that picture. Yeah, that's right. That's it basically. But what happened was my father happened to be out and about in town here, and he was at a butcher shop, and the butcher asked him about his accent because he has a strong, fairly strong Beijing accent, and my dad said he was Barbadian, and the butcher, his name's Rob Brady. He ended up saying, "Can I get my hands on some of that sauce you were talking about?" And my dad called me immediately from the butcher shop and said, "Jeff, do you have any of your yellow sauce?" And at the time, that's what we knew it as. And so I basically drove over right away and handed him a big jar of it, and I got an email from Rob Brady later, like that week, saying like extolling the virtues of my sauce, and he said, "I would like to be the first customer of yours." So at first I thought, well, I mean, I can just make this and give it to him and sell it without saying too much, but I was pretty serious about it, and I thought I better get it tested. I should have it shelf life tested. I don't want to poison anybody with something, as I was an amateur at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I had a background in food um, service, so I was concerned about temperatures and storage and that type of thing, expiry. But I mean, the industry here, really, there weren't many hot sauce makers, so there wasn't a lot of people to talk to. I just went down the rabbit hole, and it was sincerely like it was a lot of just trial and error, and a lot of So when I started, yeah, Rob Brady at Brady's Butcher, he was also making sandwiches in the shop and putting my sauce on the sandwiches. So people were just going, "What is this sauce?" Buying my sauce there, and it took off like wildfire. And then COVID struck, and at the time I was trying to get it on Amazon, get my product on Amazon, not knowing COVID was coming. So I got my product. I went through the trouble to get it on Amazon, and I was glad I did because this perfect storm sort of happened, and people were looking for options to buy hot sauce locally online. So I was very lucky. I can't say that I put a lot of forethought into the idea of a pandemic, but it worked out for me that way and got my name across Canada. Um, I remember I also reached out to many Americans. There a couple of notable ones. Bill Moore he picked up Beijing Taiga and reviewed it, um, and that's great. Johnny Scoville drank a bottle of it basically online. um, who else? Jeff the fireman from the League of Fire also was a big proponent of it. Heiko here in Canada, like Heiko's hot sauce, he with the Sons of Fire here were big fans as well. So I mean, I've been very lucky to have certain timing, and also just a passionate community had been started, and yeah, I think that sort of sums up the start and kind of how it flipped a bit for me. And then, I thought, well, I'm not going to be making millions and millions of dollars here. I'm not even 1 million, but it's something that I really loved. I found that once you master something and you truly enjoy it, you can kind of, it doesn't feel like you're working. You can put in 60-hour weeks and it's like I'm just doing my hobby,
Yep.
so it was good that way. And I got the bug, I suppose. And yeah, so now I've got about 6 or 7 sauces depending on what I'm carrying at the time. And they're all distinct. I wanted them to all be to not compete with one another. And they all sort of serve similar purposes, but they don't taste the same. They can be used um, on food.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my goal. Handcrafting, simply because I really enjoy it, and I wouldn't want to give that task to anybody else. I really just love cooking. Um, I would say, I do a lion's share of the cooking in my house. I've also been a short order cook. I currently work part time at a butcher shop as well. So food is all around me at all times. And I really just like being in this industry and being able to do something that sets me apart.
Yeah, no, definitely. Something you mentioned, I guess to touch on a few of those things. One thing I feel like a lot of people miss out on, and they don't understand the magnitude of how amazing the pairing is something that you mentioned early on, which is hot sauce with spaghetti. It is absolutely phenomenal. And anyone that hasn't tried that, or naysayers that think that would be bad, I challenge you to try it because it is absolutely phenomenal. It's a great way to really bring life to that dish. Same thing I'll do, if I ever do like, whether it be chicken parm, eggplant parm, and I'll get the spaghetti on the side. I like to just basically drench in, whether that be, I always do a nice amount of pepper powder first, but then I come through with some hot sauce on the back end as well and get it nice and incorporated. It adds that flow. The noodles, are easier to maneuver on the spoon, fork, however you're going about it. Some people are, I can't save them all, but anyways, then you get that great bite and that great pop. So phenomenal, and I can see where that would ignite that passion inside you, because that's a phenomenal vessel, and that already sparks your creativity in your thought process. Because as just mentioned, it's not something that commonly a lot of people think to do is put hot sauce with spaghetti.
With me as well, in later life and making hot sauce, it becomes like a fond childhood memory as well. So like it triggers those good feelings for me. And I don't know. I sort of, yeah, like what you're saying is true. Like I mean, and I like to call that a sauce vehicle. So like spaghetti would be a great sauce vehicle. I find sandwiches, wraps, anything like that, you just want to take something over the edge with a specific bold flavor. Some people, they just add a little bit, and their taste buds are so sensitive that they can gather what they need. I'm like you. I like to slather. It's got. I go through my sauce really fast, and other sauces, but yeah, it also sometimes when pepper pods are in season, it's kind of nice to chop up. I'm a big fan of the brain strains, and
Same.
so I think I've heard you say that, and I am a huge fan of the brain strains. They're one of the first. I used to grow peppers in the backyard until my company sort of outgrew that. Also, in Canada, there's a lot of regulation on having suppliers that are um, not your backyard grower.
Yeah.
So
Being able to track it and all that.
that's right. You have to be yeah. If there's a recall, you have to be able to track that stuff. So but yeah, when I've grown them on my own, I started growing Naga Infinity, if you remember that one. So it's kind of, to me, it was cool. It was like this gnarly looking pepper with like a pinched, kind of like it had like a little elbow to it.
Uh-huh.
And I think people call them vipers too. I'm not great at identifying peppers, but that's what it said on the seed pack. So I grew those, and man, the heat off those, just fantastic, and floral and fruity. So it like really matches if you're gonna put it in something like spaghetti sauce, which is already sort of that nice fruitiness.
Yep.
It's just, it takes it over the top. And people, of course, people will, 10 years ago look at you like you're crazy, but here we are today. Another factor in Canada particularly is the fact that we have a lot of multi-ethnic, um, new Canadians that want to eat spicier food, right? So it wasn't as dangerous a an undertaking for me to like enter a market where spicy food um, was an anomaly, because I had done some research. I ended up getting a grant for like a business grant. I wrote up a really large document, citing these reasons to, like, start my business. And a big one was the fact that Canada is growing. We're a population that's growing based on people coming to our country versus birth rate.
Hmm.
So, folks from India, folks from other third world countries, they like spice in their food. And so it didn't seem dangerous for me to go that way. So
Yep.
my father was also, from the Caribbean. There's a strong Caribbean, there's strong Caribbean communities all across Canada. So I thought I've at least got them, and
Yeah.
then we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that was actually something I was about to ask about as well, which is really how did what process, and you've answered it, but the idea of just like knowing that in Canada, at least definitely backtracking years, it wasn't something that was commonly talked about, which was like adding hot sauce to things and all that other stuff. Like, at least that's not what Canada's known for, is like, the real hot sauce scene definitely 10 years ago, right? Now it's definitely everywhere's flourishing, and it is definitely flourishing, and there's becoming a lot more notable sauce or spicy product makers, we'll put it that way, that are in Canada. And that leap of faith early on, I was wondering how that had to have played out in your head. But yeah, if there's that community already there, if you already have that network starting to build and flourish, it definitely makes sense as to how, from a big scale, grand picture view, that would actually work out. And to the point of the vessels for hot sauce, down at my core, it always used to get some fun laughs, and people used to family members more so, make some subtle jabs at me. But I'm a simple man. There was a point in time where I would sit there and be hungry, didn't know what I wanted, but I knew I wanted a hot sauce. And if I couldn't make up my mind, I would just go to the fridge, open up the head of iceberg lettuce, where it's the giant leaves that you can just fill, and I'd just fill as much hot sauce as I wanted, and then fold it up. It's where it's like a square, and just pop it in my mouth and eat it like that. And I would do that,
Yeah.
rinse and repeat while watching TV. And so, creativity at the end of the day, however you go about it, just try it. Just try it on whatever. I found out there's a lot of things that I don't like certain hot sauces on, but then there's others that work out beautifully for that. Another pepper you had mentioned that you like to work with is the Hallows Eve pepper. Now, that's one of those peppers that does phenomenal as a powder. It does great in sauces, and it's often one of those. It's a polar opposite. You either love the flavor fresh or you don't. And so it's a very unique pod in the sense that it's one, not common that you see grown too often, and second of all, just the tribal nature, if you will, of that pod of fresh, for the camp that loves it versus the camp that doesn't. It's a very interesting one, and I definitely agree. Now it's one that I've grown for. I had grown what, maybe 2 different seasons. I ate them the very first season. Was kind of like on the fence. Do I like it? Do I not like it? It is very floral. It is very potent flavor up front, and then it does kind of get more subtle in as that heat starts to build in there. And at the first year, I was like, I don't know, I don't know. Second year, I was like, all right, I like it. I just don't know if this is something that I could incorporate in multiple things. And so then I started to divert to other plants that I would grow out of different species. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely one that is extremely enjoyable, very uncommon. So to be able to see you use it well, and have that really just be a nice focal point is pretty phenomenal. Also, with the camp of, you do have those people that are either team sweets, or you have the team that's very savory, that depth. I Me personally, much like you, I like that savory, that tart, that sour. I like that more complex side of things than, say, the overpowering, just washing it out with sweets and sugary goodness. Right? Time and place for that for me, and in moderation. Typically, I'm not like one that's pretty well known is like a Willie Pete's, where they do that half-pound chocolate bar challenge thing. I've tried it, and it's just so much chocolate that it always gets down to the last 2 squares, and I'm like, I couldn't even force myself to eat this if I wanted to. Yeah, I was already a struggle to eat that much just to get to where I was at. But I do like, spicy chocolate challenges whenever the chocolate's moderation, right? You can ramp up the heat all you want during that smaller portion, but just, I don't know. It becomes it's that whole profile of. But I love dark chocolate. If it's 80% or above, man, I'm all for it, because that falls in that savory, complex, deep, notes more so than the sweet.
Also, a friend of mine makes a mole that's incredibly Michael Corvais from Purple Tongue Hot Sauce. He makes a mole. Drew also uses, I believe he uses chocolate too.
Yep,
But
and
I know
starless.
Michael kind of nailed the mole sauce, and it's very chocolatey. That darker kind of profile I get from it, anyways. And yeah, it can be used. Sweet can be used effectively. I like, to be honest, my sauces do have some sweet, like they have sweet, but I care a little more about the savory side of it. um I think it's nice to, I think one method of actually countering superheat is to make it sweet.
Hmm.
So yeah, like, let's bring up the Hallows Eve again. I don't enjoy eating them pod by pod. I like mixing them into something that has sweetness, so that you're gonna get it. It doesn't exactly contrast with the sweet. Like, I find the floral style peppers do blend in with the heat, and then what happens is you're getting all the heat, but the sweetness sort of keeps your taste buds up here, and that heat sort of like comes in afterward. So you're getting the, I think most of my sauces would be considered creepers. So they sort of, you're going to get the flavors of the other flavors of the sauce, and then all of a sudden, it's going to be like, oh, hello. So that is part of, I think that's one of the earmarks of my style of sauce. um I don't, I mean, I have made sauces which I've kind of dropped from my line that were incredibly hot up front using reapers, and black pepper as well. Like a lot of people don't put like the black pepper into that hot sauce category, but black pepper is bloody hot. If you eat a good spoonful of that, you're gonna be lit up. So yeah, marrying things like that together was always interesting to me. I like to work on sauces. Usually, like there's at least 5 rounds when I'm going through making a new sauce of tasting and making sure that the pepper profile matches the ingredients that I have going on. Um, my focus lately has been to kind of refine my recipes. Uh, Beijing Tiger, I've changed the process that I had with that. When I started making Beijing Tiger, I kind of went by what relatives and others told me about Barbadian sauce, and they were saying, oh, they put French's mustard in, and then they use corn syrup, and it's XYZ. And so, not really thinking beyond that, I used French's mustard in a small degree in it, and I used corn syrup to get part of the sweetness and to also sort of act as a what's the right term? Like it just kind of keeps it together,
Oh yeah, yeah,
like an emulsifier, or I'm using the wrong term,
yeah. A
but
thickener, or a binder.
yeah, a binder is the right term. So I was using it as a binder. So lately, I've changed it. Now I make my mustard from scratch using mustard seed, paprika, vinegar primarily, but getting the ratios to where I was happy with it. And then I also make a simple syrup instead of using corn syrup and cane sugar now. And there's quite a stigma about corn syrup that I'm avoiding. I think it's much different? Really, not really. But GMO and these types of factors do go into people's purchasing decisions, and so I'm avoiding that. It's also more fun for me to make my own mustard from scratch. I'm working on a Dijon now that's from scratch. I'm working on some other like types of mustards that I'm going to incorporate into sauce. So it's fun for me. I like to experiment. I like to tinker with things, and I have my own kitchen, which is another benefit that I have. I'm a small maker. I call myself a micro batch maker because I make batches of under 200 bottles. I don't make anything, like I don't create skids. I don't, there's no truck pulling up to my house, loading up skids. It's just me driving them all over the country. And yeah, so I mean, I like the size and the scale. What it allows me to do is experiment and continue to play with sauces and stuff without really worrying too much about the overhead, because I can make it as I sell it. So it's
Yep.
everything's fresh. Everything it hits the shelves really fresh. You're not looking for an expiry date from 3 years ago, etc. On most of my stuff. So there I've just said a lot there, but you know um,
Well,
it's
I guess
yeah,
I,
it's a
I guess to that note, it sounds like so you derive a lot of inspiration and creativity whenever you're creating these sauces from basically like heritage, if you will. And then, as far as your other sauces that you start to incorporate and you start to, maybe even ones that haven't made it out yet, but they're kind of like in that testing ground. Where do you derive that inspiration, that thought process? Is this all geared towards cuisines that you like to use, like that you like to eat, and like to try to find a sauce that you would use in that? Or is this derived from inspiration of very unique items or ingredients that are out there? How does that play out in your process?
Again, I think I've just been really lucky with timing. There, I get some of my super hot peppers from a grower in Woodstock, Ontario, who is I was introduced to her. Her name's Di from Van Dyke Nurseries, and a friend of mine, Shane Viking Heat Hammond, is introduced me to her, and I literally had the ability to walk in there when nobody was around and just sample peppers. Like, so we walked through, and I could just crunch, and that's where I found. That's she introduced me really to the. Sorry, she didn't introduce me to Hallows Eve. I have a story about that if you're interested.
Okay.
But at Di's garden, she has a green thumb. That's one thing I do not have. I can cook. I just don't have a really great green thumb. But so I needed to find people that could grow these peppers or seed suppliers or whatnot to get me to the levels I needed. But at Di's, I could walk through and literally taste like a dragon's breath or taste a 7 pot primo or taste, whatever she had going on. Last year, she had some of the gator jigsaws.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, those those are hot.
Oh
Or
yeah.
the primo tally. I tried a golden primo tally and and one of the jigsaws at the like in the same sitting, and I was lit up like unreal. And I
Yep.
and sitting with a bunch of pepperheads, and I remember just certain spots on my face were going numb. Um, yeah, serious stuff. So like the pepper world, I'm actually a big fan of what I've seen from Troy Primo. Um, I would say I'm kind of a camp Primo guy, I guess, if that's a thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed listening to what he's got to say and kind of the process and it's nice being we have such a short growing season here in Canada. It's nice to see, in Carolina or south, like you guys can grow peppers all the time. And my dad from Barbados would say, well, peppers will grow anywhere. Like the worse the conditions are, they'll just grow. They grow out of nothing, grow out of a rock. So not really, but they'll grow in very sandy, situations with lots of drainage. And so to me, it's neat to see the growers from down that way and what they're up to. And for me, I just keep thinking, oh, it's eventually going to come to Canada, so I could get to try these things. My story that I was going to tell you about my introduction to Hallows Eve. There's a fellow by the name of Michael who runs a place called the Pepper Merchant here in Canada, and he sells seeds. He sent me a bunch of peppers, including a Hallows Eve, a really nice, beautiful looking Hallows Eve, and I put them in my fridge. And I had tried a couple of the other peppers that he'd given me, which were excellent. And he sent, and I got this message on Instagram, I think, out of the blue saying, "Jeff, have you tried the Hallows Eve?" And I was like, "No," and he not yet. And he said, "My wife tried it and she just threw up." So I went, I ran to the fridge and I ate half of the Hallows Eve just to see what would happen. So there's a bit of a rebel, strange person in me, but that wants that pain. And so I tried it, and I was just like, "Wow, this has got a lot of power per volume, and it's hitting me where I want it on the tongue, almost more so than the flavor itself. That was more important. So I want that effect when people try something. I want them to get that bee stinger in the center of the tongue versus the back of the throat, or I might want to target the back of the throat with something like Ghost, um, or like like the 7 pot primo is actually another one that I really enjoy um, over the Carolina Reaper. It's got a smoother kind of a ride, and it goes really, it pairs really well with, I have a jerk sauce that it goes in with, like Shane Hammond actually gave me the recipe for it, and I've been producing that for him. And man, that the 7 pot primo is killer. So yeah, I mean I'm fascinated by all kinds of pepper, but yeah, that story of the pepper merchant and his poor wife, I just I was like, I gotta try this now. Like, and I was pretty sure I'd be okay, but it was, it was a bit of a trying moment, but it turned out well.
Yeah, yeah, no, definitely. Okay, okay. Well, so something that I also you had mentioned before, and I kind of wanted to dive into, but wanted to also touch on it for that comment. But then there's a second part to it. So I guess the first and foremost, you had mentioned um, ideally having multiple sauces becoming like award winners and that being a thing. So is that, talking to a lot of different sauce makers, product makers in general, that definitely seems to be something that is seeked out. Now, from a consumer standpoint, well, that is nice for maybe those individuals that are thinking like, I don't really know much about hot sauce, or they're trying to figure out where they should go on the table if they're very unfamiliar. It seems to be more weight for those that are making the products to have that award than say the ones that are out there, the chili heads that are just wanting to try everything and push themselves. What is it from the award standpoint, and is there certain awards that end up weighing more for you personally as like a higher magnitude to win, for your products?
First of all, I guess, although I've mentioned awards, I don't really put all of my focus on awards. I think I'm first pleasing myself, to be honest. Um, I mean, I test on a lot of guinea pigs who my friendly guinea pigs around town, that I'll send sauce to, and I value their input. But like an award, I think the awards actually sort of reflect public attitude at the time versus breaking new ground. So, like, if that answers your question, I
Yep.
think what I found is that when I've tried to really break new ground, that I win awards. So it's kind of like both sides. Although the awards are like, I don't know who the judges are in all cases. I don't know what their systems are. Like, some of the awards are certainly, um, especially the ones where they ask you for, like, money up front and stuff. And then the awards are, judged, and you find out it's basically some guy with his neighbors in a garage, drinking, and they just decided they liked something over the other. And sometimes it's like based on a label, and who knows. I think there are definitely some of the bigger uh, sauce awards which I can't afford to even enter. And then to me, it's like, well, why should you have to pay, to have something judged fairly? Like, it's kind of there. I think,
Counterproductive.
yeah, it's. I mean, it all depends on who the panel is, and I mean, I don't. I would actually like to get into judging versus submitting my sauces, because I think you need to let the younger makers get into it, and but at the other end of that, and I think Drew and I have discussed this a few times, is that, like, would you want to be a judge if a lot of the sauces aren't really safe? So there's that as well,
Yeah.
because it's kind of obvious in some cases that someone doesn't really know what they're doing. The other thing that really is a burr in my saddle is when someone basically takes, like, a sauce from Costco and puts hot peppers in it and then rebottles it and puts like a fancy label on it. Like, to me, that kind of stuff would be, I would deem that cheating, and I don't really. I mean, to me that's has no place in my business. So if someone ultimately decides they don't like my sauce, that's totally fine with me. I know what goes into it, and I can tell you that if like a barbecue sauce company stopped making one of their products, I'm not going to be out in the cold, whereas some sauce makers may not, so I'm not, I'm just generalizing,
Yeah.
but when there's 90 sauces in a judging, you can count on a few of them not being probably food safe. You can I've heard things from judgings where people are like, "Ooh, that's bad." Like it's just bad. And then they'll pass it down the table. And it's like you could be giving people botulism like each time they're eating it. So in that respect, I guess now that we're talking about it and now that I'm thinking about it, it would be good if there were more stringent regulations on entering these things. So, you know, it, here's the crux of it. I mean, I really applaud people who are experimenting and having fun, and I mean home cooks, etc. I fully encourage that because that's how I started making sauce, and that's how you grow to appreciate the craft of making sauce. But there are when I decided to get into this industry, there were some barriers to getting in there, which I paid and which I've gone through, and I know someone like Drew has also gone through that, where it's kind of not fair to us if we're going to these lengths of ensuring safety. It's not really fair, when some a sauce comes in that is questionable. So there's that, but ultimately, I guess it comes down to flavor. Like, and if somebody really digs a flavor, like if somebody really wants that Frank's buffalo flavor, and they like what's familiar to them, and they're not really open to newer sensations, then you could. I mean, maybe it's a good idea to just stick to that format. One thing I don't do because of the safety side of it is fermentation. None of my sauces are fermented. I happen to love fermented sauce. I think one I tried was Funky's from the States, and I liked his. I traded with him one that I made called Dragon Wing Tonic, which is my Dragon's Breath kind of Korean barbecue style that I sent that with him, and he gave me his Dragon Breath sauce, and I've already used that on spaghetti.
Nice.
So it's a great spaghetti hot sauce. So yeah, there's a lot to it. I would love to, if I had a bigger space and I had more opportunity that way, I would probably start experimenting with fermentation.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry, I've kind of like
No, no,
jumped to
no. You're
segue to
fine.
different things.
I was just taking a look at the time frame. Wanted to make sure we were able to fit in the game as well. But I did have a
Oh yeah,
question that's still as well, somewhat to do with that, but also more relevant for the current, just state of everything. Now, being that you're in Canada and obviously all the lovely things that are just going on, I guess avoiding the overall real political talk of it and more focused on the business aspect. How has everything really impacted you recently as far as getting products to America, and also I know you had mentioned you being on Amazon. Is that kind of helping alleviate some of that headache? How does that play out for you from a business standpoint?
I am no longer on Amazon because it's interesting. I kind of like compare it to Google, where like they change their rules constantly. And I guess that applies to this whole thing that's going on now too. When there's instability like that, I got out of Amazon because it was affordable for me initially, and then rules were changed where I couldn't ship. Shipping is a huge issue.
Yeah.
Shipping things across the border too, like if people, it depends whose hands it gets into, because some people, I've sent stuff to the States and had like a big foot mark, like kick, like right in the middle of a case, and then the other case is completely fine. So like there's certain risks, and I think I mentioned to you offline that insurance is an issue. So in Canada, we require at least $2 million worth of insurance coverage, and if you're shipping to the States, you need 5 million. So for the litigious problems that can happen, it's less so in Canada. Um, but yeah, like I mean, to put yourself, so it literally got to a point with me. I had a bit of a flag on my back because I was doing well, and the insurance companies were watching my website to see if I was selling to the States. So I had to, like, the people I was selling to in the States, I had to remove them from my site so that I could still afford my insurance. So it's tricky. You know, from that side, I mean, I wish, and I know we've discussed it briefly too, is it would be nice if there was an avenue for smaller, really small handcrafted makers to like go through to get down to you guys, because
Mm.
we obviously want all of our fans to enjoy our products, and vice versa. I'd love to get my hands on some really truly small crafted, the best of the best. Why not? So I don't know if that fully answers the
Yeah.
question. Right now, currently, we're not seeing. I'm not seeing any difference with kind of the global situation yet. But I think things are kind of knee jerk, and I don't think that the jerk has happened yet, or
Yeah.
maybe it has. But yeah. So I'm being a Canadian maker. I'm sort of relegated to a small area here, and also being going across Canada. There's regulations between provinces as well. So it's these are all things that are sort of on the table right now as we're going through an election shortly as well. So I'm hoping that free trade exists again, and that more free trade is better, and all that stuff. So however that comes about, I don't know, but
Yeah.
I'll be here waiting.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
definitely. Okay. Okay, that makes sense. It's just something that it's commonly thought of, talked about, and just trying to bring some true perspective as to how it's actually impacting and what's going on and everything. So,
Um,
yeah.
I guess like on that as well, like the it does impact us depending on where we get our bottles, where we get our so even like all of our ingredients. I haven't seen it impact too heavily yet, but I'm worried and concerned about some of the fruit that I purchase, because some of it comes from the toward the equator. So it's like it's going to have to travel through the US in some cases. It's going to have to travel around. So I don't know how that's going to impact my cost. Right now, I guess my bottles will generally at a wholesale level, or sorry, at a cost level, are like $5 or more. So when you compare that to a co-pack company where the bottles are $1 or less to produce, it does impact the small guy pretty heavily.
Yeah.
So you know it's that's kind of in my mind as well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely makes sense. Okay, well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the game.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. We have a very special round of keep five, cut five. Now, the way that this is played is there's 10 ingredients on, well, 10 items. In this case, they're ingredients on the screen. And I will go through and list them off by number and what the item is for all those that are just audio listening only. This will help benefit them. And the best way to play this is you can either start with a keep or start with a cut, but if you just alternate between the two, that way, we get a good understanding of how this is going to go. Here we go. First up, though, we have number one. This is just to represent the ahi variety as a whole, so this can be any of the ahi peppers. Number two is sesame oil. Number three is lemon juice. Number four is molasses. Number five is mustard seed. Number six is the ghost pepper. Number seven is whiskey. Number eight is miso paste. Number nine is papaya. And then number 10 is just to represent vinegar. So here we go. We have very curated list. And where would you like to start? A keep or a cut?
Keep. I'm going to keep, since I've been very familiar with it lately, I'm going to keep the mustard seed.
All right.
I'm going to keep vinegar.
All right.
That goes into everything pretty much, just for shelf stability. Uh, I am going to keep ghost peppers.
All right. Let's grab a cut next. What are you wanting to get out of
Uh,
here?
I hate to do. You know what? I would in a perfect world, I would just keep them all. And I understand why you're doing this. It's amazing. Let's cut whiskey.
All right. Simple enough.
Let's cut miso paste.
All right.
You know, I hate to do this, but let's cut the ahi pepper
All right.
because I'm just not very familiar, to be honest, with the ahi. I would love to dive into that. But since I don't know it well, I'm gonna have to say no to that one. So another keep, sesame oil.
All right. I like it.
Uh,
So
Number
left
four
on
is
the board.
molasses.
Yep. We have
Correct.
molasses is number four. Number three is lemon juice. And then number nine is papaya.
Oh man. Okay. I'm gonna say no to molasses, although this will definitely come back to bite me. I'm gonna say yes to lemon juice and no to papaya. It's killing me to say this, but yeah, I if I have to choose, I'm sorry,
No,
papaya.
I mean, I could see it. It makes sense. And yeah, no, that's the beauty of it right there is really with that game and the way that it's structured. While there's 10 items on the board, and in this case, kind of crafting something like a sauce or a spicy product in general, those 10 items, you have to remove some, of course, but that doesn't mean that that five is really the only five ingredients that you're using to curate this product. So it's always fun and it's always nice. I tried to keep it balanced in the sense of like there's two sweet items or there's two different types of acids and there's two different this and two different that to really kind of see where this is about to be taken.
I yeah, like I my head was like, what do I need for safety first off? And then it was like I can't go without vinegar and I can't go without, lemon juice because now that I make simple syrups, it's like if you don't want your sugar, turning into crystal, you got to throw a little bit of lemon juice in there. So it's hard to avoid those ones. I was thinking more necessity. I would obviously I'd love to use papaya and go beyond that. Would be great too. But yeah, great. It's a great quiz. It's really challenging.
Appreciate that. Well, one thing I always like to do is a nugget of knowledge. We kind of touched on a little bit of this during the natural flow of conversation, but we'll gear this nugget of knowledge for those individuals that are, maybe they are thinking about taking themselves from a hobbyist into actually, producing sauce for the market, or those individuals that are maybe they kind of hit a bump in the road and they're really stuck and they don't know if they continue or if they just hang it up.
I mean, these thoughts cross all of our minds, I'm sure. But a nugget that would like what I would say to somebody who was in my spot 5 years ago would be keep doing it. Always have something else going on. On one hand, I think you need to master what you're doing before you decide to take it to market, because you need to put that 10,000 hours in of cooking, food knowledge, whatever it may take. Like if you start on the wrong foot, it's not going to win. So stick, look at what's been proven, see how you can fit into that world versus just, repackaging something or, something like that just to make money. Because, it's, for me, it can't be about the money. It has to be about the passion. If you're, if you're also not mastering something, you're probably not passionate about it. So it's probably a bad idea from the get go, because it's not easy. And if you don't really enjoy stirring with a whisk, 70 pounds of sauce, you better get out now. So, I happen to enjoy it. So it's all good. But yeah, do something you love and it'll reward you.
All right. Well, now you were nominated for the hot seat as someone who would make a great guest for the show. So now is your chance to put someone else on the hot seat. So who would you like to nominate?
Okay, so Drew nominated myself and Michael Corvese, which I would have nominated if Drew hadn't nominated him, because he's a good buddy of mine, and he also is on he's on the Hallowed Satay. He and I did that as a collab. So I'm not going to say him because he's already been mentioned. Who I would really like to, I would love to see this type of interview with would be Erica from Queen Majesty.
All right.
She was an inspiration to me when I started. I saw with Sean Evans, and I thought this can be done. This can be achieved. I like her brand. I like her whole everything she's doing. I think it's great. I'm trying. You know, I think when I see her brand, when I saw her brand, and I saw her, even her personality, everything is just kind of easygoing, but the sauces are flavorful. They're high quality, and she makes them by hand, from what I gather. I know she was initially. That was inspirational to me, but I'd love to hear these questions put to her.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for that nomination. And Erica, I'll be reaching out to find a time to have you on the show and learn a lot more about Queen Majesty. So, is there anything you want to share with those that are watching, listening, any kind of updates or where they can find you?
So currently, sadly, I'm only available in Canada. But please reach out to me via my website, and if you have any questions for me or you want to try samples, I mean, who knows? Maybe we can sort something out.
All
And
right.
yeah, peace. You know what? Peace to everybody. We love you guys. Even though the media is kind of like weird right now, Canadians really love Americans, and I'm sure Americans are still okay with us too. So,
Absolutely.
peace with everybody. Thank you so much, Brandon. You put on a great podcast, and I can't say anything bad about this.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Obviously, we've got to scratch the surface. Still so much more we can go into. Would love to have you back. Thank you
Oh
for
yeah.
coming on. Jeff, thank you so much for coming on. It was an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast here tonight. If you want to keep up with Island Sun Canada hot sauce, I'll have the direct links down below for the products reviewed here tonight, as well as a main link to the website and all the socials, so you can keep up with everything that Jeff has going on and all of his amazing sauces. So, also, do not forget, new episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday night. So continue to share this out with other like-minded chili heads or individuals that are just curious about the world of hot, because this is where they can find everything to do with the world of hot. Also want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, podvision.io. If you are looking to grow your brand, start your brand, you hit a bump in the road, you're trying to figure things out, highly recommend checking out podvision.io for all those needs, as well as webdx.one. If you have an online website, maybe it's out of date, maybe you had somebody but you lost contact with them, maybe it's just not a good representation of you and your business, highly recommend checking out webdx.one for all of those needs. I'm Brandon Swear, and from everything from the world of hot, this has been The Swear Word.